My original life to-do list sounded something like this. Go to college, get a job, move out of New Jersey, get married, and have kids. I breezed through most of this, went to a well-respected school and got a degree in English and theater, found work as a training analyst, moved to San Diego, and got married to a guy that I met on an airplane. The having kids part, though, never quite played out the way it does in movies, where at the mere drop of a hat or a quick sneeze, you get pregnant. I mean, let's face it. As women, we spend our 20s praying we get our period, and then we spend our 30s hoping we don't. After a couple months went by of not getting pregnant, I went to the doctor to see what was going on. And when I got there, are you kidding me? It's called an infertility clinic. Infertility. Really, people? Like, we don't know that we're having problems trying to get pregnant. Couldn't we at least be aspirational and call it a fertility clinic? The doctor ran some tests and diagnosed me with polycystic ovary syndrome, or PCOS, which affects about 1 in 10 women of childbearing age. PCOS is a hormonal imbalance, and it makes your periods all wonky, and it makes it difficult to get pregnant. And bonus, it gives you unwanted hair in really sexy places like your breasts and your chin. Awesome. So this was all new to me. So I did what most people do. I Googled it, which, depending on the search results, can either be the best or the worst thing you can do. There was so much out there. But I also did what comes naturally. I wrote about it. I initially started my blog as a place to keep track of my doctor's visits, my health, my state of mind. It was private, really, nothing much more than a journal to keep track of everything. I didn't tell anybody about what was going on, though, because I felt embarrassed and betrayed that my body couldn't do the one thing I wanted it to: have a baby. It's funny when you think about things like that. It's like, well, this is what I want to do, why can't I do it? And being goal-oriented, that kind of was confusing to me. But what I discovered was that as I slowly started telling friends about what I was going through, they opened up to me and said, oh, we've been having problems too, which blew me away, because up until the moment I told them about my problems, I had no idea, none, that they were having issues too. The worst feeling in the world is the feeling of isolation. Then I got mad that we as women are conditioned to not talk about these things. And that's crap. These are exactly the types of things we should be talking about with each other. It's like this secret society that nobody wants to talk about and nobody really wants to be a part of. So I made the very personal decision to make my very private blog public. Of course, I changed the names to protect the innocent from the litigious. By sharing my story in this way, if somebody was out online going through what I went through, I wanted them to be able to find my story and not feel so alone. I also wanted to empower women to feel like they could talk about these things so they wouldn't feel that sense of isolation that I had. So CaraDeFrias.com was born. Our struggles continued, and I began to ponder whether I wanted to continue down the road of Western medicine that included dyes and pills, and more pills, and doctor's visits. For a long time, I'd taken a holistic approach to my health, including visiting a chiropractor and a massage therapist. So it didn't seem at all strange to me when, by sheer providence, acupuncture came up as an option. Here's how it played out. My friend Mary visited me in San Diego, and while she was there, she got a foot massage, which she loved so much, she gave me a gift certificate to the place. Yes, I have nice friends. I went there and I started talking to the director, and I was sharing our struggles, and he told me they do acupuncture. I said, hey, I'm actually open to Eastern medicine. Let's give this a shot. I started treatment the next week, and the whole goal of it was to get everything moving again. And sure enough, I started bleeding on my own for the first time in years. Things were moving so much, though, that the following week, I passed a tissue mass. Now, I'm not going to gross you out and show a picture, but know that I did take one, next to a pencil, of course, to show scale, and then I placed it in a pill jar filled with water to take to my doctor. What? My mom's a nurse. I gotta admit, the thought of cancer crossed my mind. As a malignant melanoma survivor who years before had had a mole removed from my forearm, only to find out it was cancer, why wouldn't it? Again, that feeling of isolation. I sat in my doctor's office, and she delivered a diagnosis of uterine cancer. Now, I'd wanted to have kids my whole life, and I was so mad at my body for not letting me do that. I had a full hysterectomy with bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy, which in plain English means they took everything out, including the kitchen sink, my uterus, my fallopian tubes, and my ovaries. As I sat in the doctor's office, I took comfort in two things. One, they were pretty sure it was stage 1. And two, the stirrups that you put your feet in were covered in oven mitts that had this really crazy floral print on them, which, well, they did. They looked like the ones my grandmother used to use in her kitchen. And that made me smile. Now, the doctors wanted to do a hysterectomy right away, but my motherly instinct kicked in, and I told them I wanted to save my eggs first. It's crazy when you're going through all this. There's so much terminology. There's this whole new world. I wanted to talk to somebody who's going through what I did, who could tell me what everything was going to be like. That led me, of course, to Google it again. You think I would have learned the first time. So there was a world of new terminology. IVF stands for in-vitro fertilization, and it's a method for extracting the eggs from the ovaries, fertilizing them with sperm, and letting them grow a little bit. In most cases, they end up back where they started. In my case, they were meant to end up in somebody else's belly, a surrogate's, our own easy-bake oven, if you will. It turns out most insurance companies don't cover IVF or even fertility preservation, including mine. So we had all those bills to contend with, which can run into the tens of thousands of dollars. I ended up at UC San Diego's Reproductive Center, and they were just so amazing. The doctors cut their fees. The drug companies donated much of the necessary medicines. We didn't have much time. We had to get the eggs before the hysterectomy. In industry lingo, I'm known as a fertility preservation patient. Now that's hot. Fertility preservation means when faced with the prospect of losing the ability to have your own kids, you do what you can to preserve that ability. For me, the desire was instinctive. Again, the whole always wanting to be embalmed thing. IVF consisted of 2 weeks of birth control pills, followed by 2 weeks of, hey, eggs happen pills, and a whole host of needles along the way. Yes, Gemma in the back who just groaned, a whole host of them. My friend Liz helped give me my first injection at a Residence Inn in Austin, Texas, because as I explained to my doctors, I wasn't gonna let a pesky case of cancer stop me from going to my first South by Southwest. I gotta admit, there were times along the way when the general suckiness of it all settled in for a little bit. In the weeks leading up to the egg harvesting, the doctors did a blood draw every day to check my levels. Every second or third day, they do a transvaginal ultrasound to check the follicle size. Imagine them to be like Goldilocks. We don't want them too big or too small. We want them just right. On the last day, when the doctor inserted the probe, my ovaries appeared on the ultrasound screen. And it hit me in that moment that I'd never be able to see my baby in there or on that screen because my uterus simply wouldn't be there. My lip began to quiver, and quivering lip begat teary eyes, which begat water pouring down my face. I was sad for what I was losing, sad for my ability to not carry my own child, sad for my body's rebellious nature against nature. Rainy with a chance of baby, if there was ever such a forecast. When all was said and done, we ended up with 6 embryos being stored on ice, or as I like to call them, my kid-sickles. My friend Corrine likes to say, always start from hope. While for now I'm in a holding pattern, the hope is to one day find a surrogate to carry my children. Not all 6 of them at once, mind you. I'm not a walking reality show. And don't get me wrong, there have been a lot of positives that have come out of this experience and so much to be grateful for. I coordinated with my doctors and 2 universities so that my ovaries could go to research studies. I have all this free space in my bathroom cabinet now, a now empty shelf that used to be occupied by tampons and pads. The lack of worry around getting a period. And probably the best one of all, when it comes to menopause, I skipped the hot flashes. Bonus. And to this day, I'm grateful to my acupuncturist, Christian, and my friend Mary for saving my life, because uterine cancer is hard to detect. A lot's happened in the past few years, and I've learned so much about myself and the life I want to live. I continue to say yes to all the opportunities that come my way, whether it's serving my country as a White House Presidential Innovation Fellow or attending the final space shuttle launch, because being cancer-free again just proves that life's too short to not embrace it fully. There are a lot of women like me out there going through what I did, but we don't talk about it because it supposedly happens to older women or other women or somebody else. It's, again, this secret society that no one wants to be a part of and nobody talks about, which is why I wrote about it and why I'm here talking to you today. You know, there's a lot of celebrities coming out and talking about it too, like Elizabeth Banks and Celine Dion, and that's great because every time they share, it makes it more relatable and makes this world a little less small. And by talking about it, whether online or in person, we create this system of support, this feedback loop, if you will, for each other. I got an email from a guy who said he was so frustrated that nobody talks about the dads in these situations. But after reading my story on my blog, he was inspired to start a support group for dads who are going through miscarriages. Turns out, trying to have kids is hard for a lot of us. I'd like to think it would suck a little less if we could just give ourselves permission to talk to each other about it. Thank you.